Hello and welcome to the Spring 2021 Elections Information Session. My name is Tyler Clogg and I currently serve as Elections Chair for SGA. So a little bit of an overview of what SGA is. SGA is a representative governing body that addresses the needs and concerns of the undergraduate student body at the University of Dayton. And our mission is to actively advocate on behalf of the undergraduate students, to seek to hear every voice across campus, and serve as the liaison between the administration, faculty, staff, and the student body. So for spring elections, in order to be eligible to run for a position, you have to be 3/4 or a full-time undergraduate student in good academic standing, which is defined by a cumulative grade point average above a 2.5. Good disciplinary standing as defined by the university, and you must be in the constituency for which position you are seeking. Some more requirements are both candidates for each the president/vice president ticket must be on campus for the entire academic year for which they intend to serve, and fifth-year students and students presently engaged in a cooperative education experience are eligible for candidacy. And any person who's been impeached from SGA previously or is undergoing the impeachment process or has been disqualified from previous elections is ineligible to run for elections this spring. So this is just a little look at the timeline. So this video will be available from March 8th through the 14th, and all forms will be due by the end of the day on the 14th. And once you get those forms in, it will get approved by me and our advisor, Chris Fishpaw. And as soon as your candidacy contract is approved, you will get an email saying that we got your forms and everything's good to go. But just because your forms are approved does not mean that you can actively start telling people that you are campaigning. Campaigning does not begin until 8 a.m. on March 18th. The presidential forum will be March 25th after elections open. Any endorsements must be due by March 30th, and elections are from March 24th to March 26th, starting at 8 a.m. and ending at 8 p.m. on the 26th. So the positions that we will be looking for candidates for this spring are the president and vice president ticket, vice president of finance, vice president of communication, director of special programs, director of campus unity, director of mayor's involvement, and director of academic affairs, and all academic representatives to represent each of the schools on campus. So for the SGA candidacy contract, you have to read and understand the rules and procedures of the elections and sign the contract to be qualified for elections. I will either link the candidacy contract below, or you can find it on the SGA website. It's really important that you are familiar with this handbook before you start running your campaign, because you do not want to break any rules that can get you disqualified. Candidate endorsement forms. So you have the ability to have different organizations on campus endorse you. So endorsements may not start until campaigning week starts. You can reach out to organizations to get your endorsement, but it cannot be publicized until campaigning week starts. But you also cannot actively portray that you're being endorsed by an organization until it is approved by SPEC, so me and my committee. So all endorsements must be submitted to me via the official SGA elections endorsement form in order to be utilized. Endorsements by student organizations must be approved by the president of that organization and require that the president consult with the organization's membership. A majority of the organization's membership must also agree to support the endorsement. And also, a single organization may not endorse more than one candidate for any given position. No student organization or club may donate money to your campaign. And if you have if you need any more information on this, you can either reach out to me or look at page 8 of the elections handbook, and it can go into a little bit more detail about this. So for funding this year, due to the pandemic, SGA will not be providing funding in the form of cash. Each candidate can use up to $100 of their own money or raise that money from their constituents. and each candidate will be given 100 prints through SGA's spec committee. So we'll be providing 100 prints. So if you would like to print posters or anything, we are going to give you that, but any other type of funding from our committee is not going to be provided. Any purchases made with that $100 must go through SGA. You must report that money that you're spending, so we know if you use any outside funds. So some campaign rules that are extremely important to follow. All campaign material must be approved by the elections committee prior to distribution. So any posts on a social media, any social media accounts in general, any flyers, anything like that needs to be approved by my committee before it is shown to the public. And that cannot happen until campaigning again begins on March 18th at 8 a.m. And nothing can be posted without approval until campaigning ends. Each candidate is responsible for the removal of their personal campaign materials. So any posters that are hung up are responsible for the candidate to be taken down after the fact. Violators will be fined $10 for each piece of their personal campaign material that has not been removed 5 days after the last day of voting. I don't think that date's right on there. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but around April 1st is when those need to be taken down. Advertising will be subject to university rules regarding location and content. So all posters that are hung up need to be stamped by Centers for Student Involvement before being posted, or else they will be removed. Like I just said, all election material must be submitted through 1850 for approval. Once approved, they need to be stamped by the Center for Student Involvement. Advertising on personal property requires owners' expressed consent. So any sheet signs or anything has to have approval of majority of the residents of that home. Candidates may hang election material in public places, but must observe the rules of each public facility. UD Media, so University of Dayton's media outlets can only be used as paid advertisement space, regardless of whether the candidate is already involved in it. Websites, social media, etc., must be approved before going public, as well as all campaign materials. When it comes to emailing, you are not allowed to mass email. No soliciting from anonymous students. Mass emails sent out by candidates or their supporter may only contain the individuals' entered names of students of 50 at one time, and it excludes mailing lists. So any imprinted products, shirts, pens, stickers, buttons, if you choose, must be approved by Elections Committee and CSI before printing. Items containing or mimicking official University of Dayton or UD Athletics logos must follow applicable university policies. In-person campaigning should not be occurring. We should be keeping our distance, and everyone should do campaigning as virtual as possible. The student government office, if you are part of SGA already, you may not use the office for any campaigning or resources. If you need to look at any more of campaign rules, please read pages 7 through 9 of the elections handbook. So the presidential forum will take place March 25th on Zoom. For those of you who are running for president and vice president, we will be getting the link out to you probably within the first week of campaigning. So any violations to these campaign rules, SPEC will investigate all complaints within 24 hours. There will be a form for any complaints to be filed. Each offense will be judged based on its severity and have the appropriate repercussions. All sides can present their case to SPEC before a decision is made on any violations. So violations are put on a point system. So it's very important to note that the actions of all supporters and anyone formally or informally involved in a candidate's election efforts reflects directly upon the candidate. These rules therefore pertain directly to the conduct of both the candidate and their supporter. The candidate is responsible for any infractions of the elections rules by their supporter. We will have a form for people on your team or elections committee, if you have a personal one, to fill out so that we know who is on your committee. But if someone who is working for you does anything against these rules too, those points will go towards your point system. So a minor infraction is just 1 point. So this is use of mass mailings to solicit the support of anonymous students, use of prohibiting or unauthorized social media, violations to the CSI handbook, and failure to post endorsement disclaimer without spec approval. Intermediate violations would be early campaigning in the SGA office or at an SGA focused event, or using banners on campus. Some more intermediate violations are violations to the CSI handbook, residence hall door-to-door soliciting, posting anything in residence hall or campus building windows, failure to comply with off-campus campaigning rules, non-campus public endorsement, and use of free advertisement from the University of Dayton's media outlets. So some major violations are running a personal polling station by the candidate or the supporter using personal or public computers, defacement or removal of a candidate's material by another candidate or that candidate's staff. If candidates and those endorsing candidates fail to treat others with dignity and respect in all campaign activities and materials, exceeding campaign spending limits, or failure to file income and expense reports. Failure to attend mandatory information session meeting, use of UD's computer network, use of unauthorized University of Dayton emblems, logos, or copywritten material, and some other violations to the CSI handbook. So just a quick overview of what the responsibility for each position is. So for president, it's to attend all SGA meetings, distribution of legislation, communication, and meet regularly with UD administrators, assign duties to executive committees, and power to call special elections. For vice president, it's your job to assist president upon the request, inability, or absence. You're the leader of the Senate, and you have the right to vote in case of a tie in the Senate. And you're responsible for appointing Speaker of the Senate, Sergeant at Arms, executive secretaries, and chiefs of staff. If you are running for president or vice president, you will make an appointment to meet with Chris Fishbar, our advisor, after your candidacy contract. Chris will reach out to all candidates more about this. Responsibility of the VP of Communication is to manage SGA email and social media, work with flyer media and other UD outlets, maintain SGA's website, assist in campus-wide emails, publicize SGA-sponsored events periodically, update the student body of the works of SGA, and make SGA information and events accessible on campus. For the VP of Finance, it is your responsibility to maintain up-to-date financial records, compile monthly reports, and present a semester report, uphold government documents outlining financial procedures for SGA, periodically update SGA for financial conditions of SGA, keep an electronic budget, and publish and execute an auditing process in order to ensure that the funds are being used for their intended purpose. So the responsibility of the Director of Special Programs is to aid in the organization and execution of all SGA programming as assigned by the Director of Special Programs, be the Chief Administrator of all SGA programming, and serve at the discretion of the President and Vice President. The Director of Campus Unity is supposed to be a representative of the student body in matters concerning students who may be potentially marginalized, communicate information between SGA and other councils and committees concerning Campus Unity, and this director will be in charge of their own committee. The Director of Marian's Involvement is a representative for all matters concerning religion, faith, and spirituality, and is responsible for communicating information between SGA and all other organizations and committees concerning matters of religion, faith, or spirituality. The Director of Academic Affairs is a representative of the student body in matters concerning academics and communicating information with Senate, and they oversee the academic representatives and also have a seat on the Academic Senate. Academic reps serve under the Director of Academic Affairs, and they must attend academic senate meetings and other administrative councils, committees, and boards, and help the students that belong in your school with their questions and concerns. So just some few notes. Me as election chair and all other members of my committee and SGA as a whole will not have any access to polling numbers during the election, and all candidates will receive letting them know whether they had won or lost, either way. So why should you get involved in SGA? It's a great leadership experience. You get to act as a liaison between students and UD administration. You get to play a part in allocating a $200,000 budget. It's a great resume builder. There's opportunities for scholarships within SGA. There's great networking opportunities, and you get to make a lot of great friends and have a voice on campus. So just a reminder, this is super important. All candidates are responsible for all their own actions and those who support them. You don't want someone else to be the reason that you are no longer able to run. So here's some information. You can reach out to me via the elections email or my personal email. I'll probably get back to you faster if you email my personal email. There's my phone number, and as well as the email address of our advisor if you have any further questions. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of your candidacy contracts. Everything should be linked below this video. And make sure not to start campaigning until campaign week starts. I hope you guys all have a great day.